I mean, with the progression that you've made from children's TV to the world of sport, was that a conscious decision, or was it a passion of yours? And are you a sports person yourself?
Okay, let me come clean and say I have zero sporting ability. Okay. And it was quite a difficult conversation when I first met with someone from BBC Sport, because I had to say that I wasn't a trained journalist, and I hadn't been to university. And in fact, I'd got an E for my A-level English all those years ago. So that was a hard conversation. And then when it came to talking about my my sporting endeavours, again, I played one game for the school football team. But what I tried to explain to them was that all of the time that I'd been on children's BBC, what I'd been honing is a kind of an empathy, really, like an ability to share a story with people. And I honestly believe that, you know, because social media can be quite a difficult place sometimes, and particularly when it comes to being a football presenter, because people are so passionate about their football team and their football club that they seem to have a very intense opinion about anything related to it, including the person who's presenting the show. So I do get a kind of a large amount of criticism, and the criticism tends to have exactly the same tone to it. Either, oh, this guy is really arrogant, or this guy is really smug or overconfident. And I guess sometimes maybe you can look like that, but I kind of think it's my job to be as confident as possible in the job that I do. And the other criticism that I get, Evelyn, is, oh, he knows nothing about football. And I don't claim to know an awful lot about football. My job is to facilitate the pundits who do know a lot about football and to get the very best from them. And that was really my message when I first met with BBC Sport. I said, look, I feel that I can share with the people at home the very, very best learnings from these sports people, because I think I have empathy. I'm coming at it from a totally different perspective. And I almost think it helps that I'm so bad at sport, because if I was good, it wouldn't intrigue me that a footballer can do something amazing, because I would be able to do it as well. So it's not that incredible. Whereas actually the fact that I can't get anywhere close to it, it is intriguing to me, because I don't understand how they do it. Yeah. And the final reason for really wanting to work in sport, and I wonder whether this is not dissimilar to your music career, is the thrill of the event. Like, presenting television programs is kind of fun, but to be at an actual event with 60 or 70,000 people, and to see what that does to the human psyche and the human body, and to see people rise to the challenge or at times fail under the challenge of the scrutiny, is an incredible thing for me. And that's what I love. And I'm sure you're the same. The thrill of the live event is great, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. And I think that is certainly, you know, magnified itself during this period when all the performances have come to a more or less full stop. And it's not quite the same doing it virtually, you know. So it is interesting, because in a way, you know, when you mentioned that, well, you know, you want to bring that story to the general public and make them feel the passion, you know, make them feel and smell and taste the whole occasion through your words, you know, is an incredible skill. Because I was going to ask you, well, you know, are you extremely knowledgeable on, you know, Formula One racing or football or the Super Bowl or whatever? But, you know, I probably think not, because it was such a lot to try and digest. But the funny thing is that I suppose, to compare in my own situation, when you play a music, sometimes the real learning curve, or the real moments of, you know, come from perhaps a person who isn't a musician, or who doesn't know anything about, you know, what you do, but it's that feeling, really. But do you feel that your idea of success has changed because you're surrounded by so many extraordinary people, you know, where it is about a win or a lose situation? But that's kind of a dangerous thing to be. It's quite you know, it can be such a stressful, you know, scenario. But you know, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are there.
My overriding thought when we talk about comparing ourselves to others is that I think that we live in a period where I think it's more difficult than ever to be ourselves, because it's never been easier for other people to pass judgment on us. And that really comes from the social media world. And I think it's so dangerous, and I worry really for my children growing up in a world where they're living a full and complete life, yet they're comparing their full and complete life to other people's lives distilled down to 15-second videos or beautifully crafted photos on their phones. And it doesn't matter if you've been with your child who's been pooing and sicking everywhere and didn't sleep all night and it's all been horrendous. What will people upload? That one photo of them adoringly looking at their child who looks so serene and sleepy. We then compare that moment of perfection to our own lives. And it's so dangerous to compare edited, altered reality to actual reality. And I think on a personal level, I worry for my children. And I think that is a really dangerous game to get into. From my perspective, I've had to be really careful about comparing myself to the people I'm surrounded with, because I'm sitting with or talking to or talking about Formula One drivers earning £40 million a year, footballers earning £200,000 or £300,000 a week, traveling, particularly in the Formula One circus, with billionaire business leaders on private jets. It's really, really easy to feel that you haven't achieved very much when you're only looking at those people as your frame of reference. So the biggest thing for me is to make sure that I'm happy, and I really am. And I think as I've got older, I'm now 41, almost 42. It's a lot easier for me to focus on the happiness rather than the achievement side of things. And maybe that's because I'm really lucky and I do live a lovely quality of life. So it's easy to say. But I've tried to kind of really reframe my thinking, not to compare myself with others, because the only person that really matters is my own opinion of myself, right?
Yes. It's such an important message, Jake. I can't tell you. It really, really is, because I suppose with sport and, the competitiveness of being in the music business is can be quite extraordinary, actually. And you do lose all sense of, well, hold on a second, what is it that makes me tick? Or you sometimes feel as though you might be selfish thinking that, but actually it's so important to listen to yourself, before then you can help a situation or help others or whatever the case may be.
There's also a challenge, I think, for the likes of you and I, that professional sports people don't have. And it's that success or failure is absolutely black and white. You know when you've succeeded, you know when you've failed, because you've either lost or won. You can feel you've done something incredible. And then one critic, because it's subjective, one critic says, oh, Dame Evelyn was not on her game last night, or has Dame Evelyn lost her touch, or whatever it is they might say. And there's no way of you saying, well, no, I haven't, because I won, didn't I? You can't say, it's impossible, because it's their opinion. And that's the same with my job. People will look at it and go, oh, it's not for everyone. When I sit there and I talk about a sports event, you have to remember someone's watching their team play a game of football and they've lost a final. And the first voice they hear is mine. Of course, the words that I choose in that moment, which I think are the right words, are not going to be the words that they would choose in that moment, because they're coming at it from a completely different perspective. They're probably howling about a refereeing decision 25 minutes before that cost their team the game. Yet I'm focusing on perhaps the approach or the quality or the ability wasn't there on the day, which a fan hates to hear. So of course I'm going to get criticised, and learning to live with that is quite an important thing from my own perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I find that often the most important part of a performance is post-performance, where you just have that moment, to yourself to really digest. And it's quite interesting, because very often you're asked to attend a reception or a whatever, and actually what's going through your mind is almost reliving the performance. And I think you're right, but the next day you get up and the drawing board is then clear again. You start again, because you know what needs to be weeded out, what needs to be sorted out, that gut instinct, what needs attending to. And it is an interesting sort of scenario. And
isn't it great also to get into that mindset, which takes a long time actually, and I don't think you can do it when you're young, that mindset of, I know I made a mistake on that one and I know I'm not happy with it, but tomorrow morning I wake up and the great thing is I can put it right.
Absolutely.
And when you're young, you dwell on these things too much, don't you, almost?
Yeah, no, that's really interesting.